Hello, college football fans. Welcome to episode 102 of College Football Throwdown. I'm your host, Alex Schmitz, and today I'm joined by my dad, Peter Schmitz.
Hello, college football fans and Nebraska fans.
And our special guest once again this episode, Uncle AJ.
Hello, everyone.
All right. And we are in person here again to discuss the different bowl games that have occurred in this 2020-2021 season here, this weird COVID year that we've had, as well as the semifinal games and a preview of the upcoming national championship game. So, a lot to get into here. But before we dive into that, we've got two different types of alcohol at the table today.
We are opening another of the AJ Schmitz, Food of the Gods, Michelob Ultra,
right?
Which is his lifeblood. That's that baby. And then we can cheers to a glass of the fine things in life, a nice fine scotch to sip along the way. Now, not to say that we're a bunch of alcoholic drunks, but
certainly not.
It's the new year, and I'm turning over a leaf.
Yeah, here you go. New Year's resolutions, right? There we go.
More scotch.
More scotch.
All right.
We're going to Ireland this year, so.
Yeah. So yeah, this was of course, wouldn't be 2020 without capping off the year with some oddness, because we had some bowl games that got scheduled but then got canceled due to different COVID concerns for different teams and things like that. So we had less bowl games this year than we normally would, but still quite a few, and it's been fun being here together with you guys over the holidays. It
has been
really
awesome. It has been enjoyable to watch the football too, though. Actually, I mean, there's been some
real good games,
entertaining games. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep. And this COVID year has been weird and sucked, and there's some games that haven't happened and teams that have been set back by it. But at the end of the day, I'm certainly glad we had the season, because we still got some great games out of it. And,
we did.
Progression of the kids and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, in September, it didn't look like that we were going to get much football at all. And I'm very thankful for all the football we did get all the way through, even though the Big Ten didn't start until I don't know when it was, but it was late.
And think about it. We had a number of canceled games.
Oh yeah,
I don't think there was one.
Yeah,
I don't think there was one COVID-related death or even severe case among
the kids,
players or coaches who did end up getting tested positive. Yeah. Okay, and so the efforts among those organizations to bubble to the best of their ability, for the most part, worked. And if I could just briefly, since this is a Nebraska-related podcast, say that Nebraska did a phenomenal job throughout the season of keeping their group, including coaching and staff, not just players, pretty darn effectively monitored, right? Mm-hmm. And they were ahead of the curve. They were one of the first ones that was doing the full team testing and all that stuff, thanks to the University of Nebraska Medical Center, which never gets enough credit for the fact that they are leading edge in a lot of things, which happens to include, pandemic and these kinds of major health crises. So I give SEC and the Big 12 some credit here, and I don't like to give the Big 12 credit, as you know, for the fact that they had the guts, or the SEC, they had the guts to say, you know what, we feel comfortable enough that we can move forward and we're not putting our teams at risk. Mm-hmm. And you know what? They were right. And then they were able to manage their missed opportunities by having open weekends to play.
Right. Unlike the Big Ten.
We started too late.
Right.
If we'd have started 2-3 weeks earlier, I think it would have come out much better.
Which is when we originally... If we had just followed through with our plan and not gotten cold feet over a stupid article that was debunked immediately, then we would have been in a way better position. And I think we would have... it would have just been a very different season for all of our teams.
That goes to a thing that we could talk to at a later date. Mm-hmm. But poor leadership from the Big Ten, and that's a whole nother show in itself.
Is, totally. You're right. Yeah. We will.
That'll print for rent for that one. That'll be easy. For
that's an easy one. Yeah.
That's right.
Sure is. All right. Well, the first bowl I have here on our list is one you and I saw, Dad, while we were in Sedona, Arizona, which was the Coastal Carolina versus Liberty, which is significant because Coastal Carolina was one of those
undefeated,
right, group of 5 undefeated teams. They kind of had a Cinderella year here.
Yep.
And they played at a close with Liberty. They were winning actually at a certain point, but Liberty ended up pulling it out 37-34.
Right, and so that kind of debunked the whole group of 5 thing. That did not build their case, right? That hurt their case because there was a lot of people arguing that, frankly, Coastal Carolina should have gotten at least consideration for one of the New Year's Day 6 bowls, like the Oregon-Iowa State game. It would have been a far more appropriate in their minds to have Coastal Carolina, undefeated and conference champion of their conference, play rather than Oregon, who was Pac-12 champion but had backed into the game because of a COVID situation with Washington, who had 2 or 3 losses versus this undefeated Division I football team from Coastal Carolina. Now, Coastal Carolina goes off and gets beat by Liberty. You don't make your case when you do that. Okay.
Yep.
So Coastal Carolina needed to step up and really kick some ass, and they failed in their opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And that's
the significance.
And the other big group of 5 game was, of course, this was a New Year's Six bowl, the Peach Bowl, with Cincinnati versus Georgia.
Yes.
And another game where Cincinnati was winning, and we were rooting for them hard, but Georgia drove it down there right at the end, and got a field goal to win it, a long 52-yarder or something.
Right.
With honestly some bad clock management by Cincinnati, where they were supposed to be focused on killing time, and they left seconds on the board, and
throwing the ball,
throwing the ball
down. Yeah. So another missed opportunity there.
That's right. You're exactly right.
That was a well fought game, though.
It was.
I mean,
both
teams
game.
played. Yeah, that was
great
an excellent
defense.
game. Yeah.
A lot of great defense, but the fact is you're talking about a Georgia team that frankly had a somewhat disappointing season. Probably had its share of people not playing. In fact, I think we might have researched that a little bit.
Oh yeah,
There were like 6 or 7 players not even playing for Georgia, and they still found a way to beat this Cincinnati team that was undefeated and one of the best teams in Cincinnati history, right? And so again, it makes the point that as much as you want to clamor for the group of 5, there still is a big difference between group of 5 and the Power 5. But for another day, we will talk about the implications of that for a playoff down the road.
Yes, the political machinations going on in the background of college football right now.
Exactly.
Then this is another good game, Oklahoma State versus Miami in the Cheez-It Bowl. And
what a name.
I know, right? And Oklahoma State won that 37-34, but Miami looked like they were going to pull back and win it, just with their better talent, because Oklahoma State, just kept on making these mistakes. I remember that.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things where, again, Oklahoma State's another team that tends to get close to the edge of really being champions, and then they always find a way to kind of take a step back. and although they won this game, that kind of characteristic of their program still seems to be there. Miami, on the other hand, is still Miami too. They've got tremendous talent, but they lack discipline, and it ends up biting them in the ass a lot, and it caused another loss for them. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Miami's coaching staff over these next few years, because they got the talent. It's a question of, can they actually get it disciplined and focused,
right,
and execute consistently week in and week out. But another interesting game.
Yep. That was a good game that we watched. And then this was interesting. Texas, Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. Yeah. Texas won 55-23. It was closer earlier on. Like, Colorado had its chances, but I remember they were doing all right, and then they threw a pick, and it was like, oh well, now it's over, because when you're the underdog, you can't be making big mistakes like that.
Well, and this does not bode well for the Pac-12 because
why were 2 teams playing in the Pac-12?
No.
Big 12.
No, it's Big 12 versus Pac-12.
Because Colorado's
in the Pac-12.
Right, Colorado is. out
Yeah.
west.
And Colorado had a fairly good season record-wise, and earlier,
Pac-12.
had a good thing going, and they have a good running back. But their defense was atrocious. I mean, the freshman running back from Texas looked like he should be in New York collecting the Heisman next week because he was phenomenal. He was averaging like 14 yards a carry, and literally every time he touched the ball, I mean, he either scored a touchdown or damn near scored a touchdown. It was just ridiculous.
Yep. And I saw that Sam Ellinger, the quarterback from Texas, has decided to go pro.
Right. And that, I don't know if this is the time to mention it, but that might have something to do with the fact that he lost his coach.
Yeah, that probably does have something to do with it. The other thing I want to mention before we go into the Tom Herman situation is you'll remember that there was a lineman, I think it was number 85.
Defensive lineman.
Yeah, defensive lineman for Texas who he's a freshman, of course, too. He made some nice plays earlier in the game, and then he gets this one-handed interception that looks like, he should be out there catching balls.
Yeah, he should be a tight end.
He's got amazing hands.
That was an amazing play.
So you have a freshman running back that looks like an All-American. I mean, the guy's a stud. Freshman. You have a defensive end who looks like he might be the next Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
Okay? And you win your bowl game 55-23 in dominant fashion, and you get fired
for doing it.
Mm-hmm. What is wrong with that picture?
Yeah, and I don't have the exact record in front of me, but I think Tom Herman's record in his time at Texas something like 38-14 or
39 and
maybe a little better.
39 and 17 or something like that. Yeah.
It was kind of surprising. Just a few days ago here, Tom Herman was fired, and then his replacement was announced on the same day.
Yeah. So they didn't have any conversations while they still had a coach. No, I'm sure that didn't happen. No. Oh, wait a minute. No, there was discussions with Urban Meyer like 5 weeks ago.
Right. You were talking to me before it even happened about rumors of different coaches that they had talked to.
I mean, the boosters down there at the University of Texas start doing shit on their own, okay? And they start having conversations and going over to people's houses. And I mean, my question is, did Urban Meyer actually invite them into the house, or did they just stay on the porch? Because who knows if they were even knew they were coming. I don't know. But it's just crazy how they do that every time. And it's illogical because you've got a coach who they think is underperforming as a recruiter in the state of Texas because he's not getting the guys they think that he should get. But I just mentioned 3 guys that probably have the capability to be future All-Americans that are freshmen on their team. Maybe you give them a little more time.
Right. Yeah. He hasn't been the dominant Texas that they want to see, but he hasn't done bad either. They've been even though they've been losing to Oklahoma, which of course he won the first year. Tom Herman won against Oklahoma the first year, which of course put him in great graces with the fan base at the time. But they seem to have forgotten all about that
exactly
in the years since because he's lost to Oklahoma.
Right. Anytime Texas is in turmoil, I'm enjoying it. I like when Texas is in turmoil. Absolutely. They made a huge mistake getting rid of this coach, and the guy they're bringing in is a lowlife, so it's only going to get worse for them, so I'm happy.
Well, and that, of course, is Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator at Alabama, who was previously a head coach at USC. Before that kind of blew up in his face a bit, but he's been doing great at Alabama as an offensive coordinator. And now he'll be coaching in the national championship game and then leaving for his new post at Texas.
Just an FYI, I think I could do pretty good as an offensive coordinator at Alabama if I got your talent. I'm pretty sure I would be looking pretty good too. Just an FYI.
Yeah, right. Peter Smith's working for Nick Saban.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know about that. But it's an interesting decision, and Tom Herman still has several years left on his contract, so it's going to be like a $40 million payout for him and all his assistants.
Staff. Yeah.
That's just crazy.
In COVID times when the university is firing people.
And you had said something about there was an SI article that you recently read that spoke to that the fact that Texas, prior to this decision, had already made some choices or decisions relative to their staff
and let people go.
Yeah, they had
it
cut.
was like
Holy cow.
150 people fired, like 150 positions, job applicants that they just didn't, move forward with the jobs, pay cuts, furloughs, the whole deal. Because of course, all the different sports are struggling,
right? The revenues
and this money is coming from the boosters. It's not coming from the university. But you'd think those boosters would have it, think somewhere along lines like
they would understand the optics,
money to help out our university, to survive this pandemic,
and keep some of that staff who clearly were doing something, right? So what are all the tasks and activities and future development stuff that they were working on that's now dead in the water because they're not there anymore? And these same boosters who had the money could have written that check and said, keep those guys. But instead, they used it to buy out a coach who, frankly, has done pretty good. Now, has he recruited as well as he wanted to? No. But that does not mean that he might not have in the future. Now, I understand that we're sitting here around the table. We don't know the inner workings. Maybe he's pissed off half the coaches in the state of Texas because he did X, Y, or Z wrong, right? And so there might be those kinds of elements that only those people know. And so I will concede that that's a possibility. But if that's the case, usually that kind of shit gets out, right? And you start hearing rumors of it, especially in this social media world we live in now. We would be reading all about that. And it would be coming out now that he's fired. I mean, people would be coming out of the woodwork telling the stories, right? And that ain't happening so far. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think there's no smoke there.
The guy they're bringing in,
a little bit more the same.
Not a good thing. Right. Not a good guy.
Right. Well, we know he's had some alcohol problems at some of his past jobs.
But that was at USC. Before that time, he was at Washington when I lived in Washington.
And he was successful.
And he was successful there. And he basically was let go there without compensation. Right. There was there was a lot of rumor throughout the time that I was there that I was hearing about why he was let go, and it was not good. Really not good stuff that he was let go. Not just alcohol, but things that were really not good. And I'm amazed that he ever got the job at USC, and then after what he did at USC, to get this job, I'm telling you, these people in Texas 3 years from now are going to be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, they may well be. Yep. We'll have to see. The hope would be, of course, that Steve in his time off, reflecting on his past mistakes and being at Alabama, has reformed in some of those personal problems that he has. Right. But, that's a gamble that Texas has taken.
Well, he's clearly lost a lot of weight. I just saw a picture of him, and he looks like a very different person.
Is he?
Yeah. And he looks older because he worked for Nick Saban.
I'd do that to you.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Now he walks into a situation. Who wouldn't want to walk into that situation? I just described to you 3 guys, and he's got a lot more than that.
That are all Americans waiting to come out.
So all he has to do is not step on his you-know-what, and he will do fine at Texas. Now, can he beat Oklahoma? That's a different story.
See, that's the whole The Sherman thing, he couldn't beat Oklahoma.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right, Herman, Tom.
Yeah, Herman, not Sherman. Sherman was Texas A&M. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yep. And we know how important that is. That's something that Michigan coaches have faced too, having, what's his name? Lloyd Carter back in the day.
Lloyd Carr,
back in the day, was getting 9-win seasons consistently, but he kept losing to Ohio State, and that's what Michigan fans cared about.
Right. So then they fire him, and then they go through 3 coaches to their current one, and none of them could do it either.
Yeah.
Right. And now they got a coach who was their golden boy, who they're really invested into, boy. And he ain't doing it either. So maybe. Ohio State's just good.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, they made a hell of a hire here just recently, too, didn't
for
they?
a coordinator.
Yep, they fired
Don Brown, who was phenomenal, but had one Achilles heel, inflexibility, okay?
Right.
And as a coach today, you can't be so married to your goddamn system that you're unwilling to change. And he was unwilling to change.
Right. So he got fired as the defensive coordinator at Michigan, but was replaced then by Will Muschamp, who is also a great defensive mind.
Phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Mind.
So I think that's really gonna. I mean, this is the first time, and I don't like Harbaugh at all, but I think that's going to be a team to really over the next 2 years. Holy cow, they're going to be something.
Well, they're another one like Miami, right? We know they have the talent. It's just a matter of getting it disciplined and moving in the right direction.
Exactly. And Harbaugh is going to get his contract extension, especially with the Muschamp hire.
Yeah.
And they recruited extremely well. They're still a top 10 recruiting class. So they're loading up. They're just not loading up as much as Ohio State. Yeah. But you know what? They just need to stop focusing on Ohio State and focus on beating everyone else in the Big Ten and getting to that second spot.
Yeah.
And then start winning New Year's Day bowls. And guess what's going to happen? All of a sudden, they're going to find themselves matching Ohio State in recruiting, and then the ball's going to turn, right? And then they're going to be in that 50-50 thing where they're winning 50% and Ohio State's winning 50% because they got all the other stuff. And in fact, they got more. Michigan, even now, makes more money and has a higher revenue stream as an athletic department than Ohio State.
Right.
Even now.
After all these years of Ohio State dominance and that rivalry.
So Michigan still has what they need to get it done.
Yeah, next year and the year after especially, I think they're going to be something pretty spectacular.
All right. So moving back to the bowl games here, we have the Duke's Mayo Bowl with Wisconsin and Wake Forest. And Wisconsin, it was a little close early, kind of like some of these other games. But Wisconsin pulled away and won that 42-28 over Wake Forest. So a nice win for the Big Ten. That was our first.
That was a nice win.
Bowl game.
And what chronology. I mean, again, since they're a competitor within our own division, it pisses me off. But that bowl game and that circumstance and everything that played out for Wisconsin is exactly why I wanted Nebraska to play. Mm-hmm. Because that game was really valuable for Wisconsin. Now, I will concede, Wisconsin lost 3 games during the regular season, maybe 4.
I think it was 3.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
That they lost to COVID. So they really needed to play some more games. They hadn't played as many games as we did. But being able to prepare and go through another week and then play that game, man, that looks to have benefited them considerably. Mm-hmm. Now, they did lose Cohen, their starter from 2 years ago, who was injured before this season, and that's why the freshman played, right?
And then Cohen got healthy.
Cohen got healthy, and he transferred. He went into the portal.
Oh.
So that's an interesting thing. That tells me that he saw the writing on the wall that he was not going to beat out this freshman kid. Even though after the first game, that freshman really didn't wow anybody enormously, right? He had a phenomenal first game and then kind of became average after that, right?
Right.
Typical freshman stuff. But he's a physical talent, there's no doubt.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. And Wisconsin, for the first time this year, actually took advantage of their success of the past and recruited extremely well. Top 15 well. And they have not been able to leverage their success on the field into dramatically improved recruiting until this year.
Right.
So that's going to be very interesting to see.
Ironic because this was probably one of the lesser years.
I know.
In a while.
But the seeds you sow in the past, it takes a while for that to take hold. That's what happened this time.
Yep. Sure did. And then this was an interesting one. The Cotton Bowl with Florida and Oklahoma playing each other. Of course, Oklahoma being the Big 12 champion that got left out of the playoff, as we discussed on the previous podcast. And it seems like they may have had a little chip on their shoulder because they won that game 55-20 and made Trask, the Florida quarterback and Heisman finalist, look like a joke.
Right, exactly.
They really did, Alex. That was
you and I watched that game.
Yeah, that was a tremendous job by Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seemed like they knew they had watched a tremendous amount of film. They knew what was coming, an awful lot of that. I want to say like it was 3 out of the first 4 possessions that Florida had. They intercepted the ball. Mm-hmm. It was just crazy how they were cutting on it so quickly. And Oklahoma was just taken advantage of.
Yeah, they clearly they had a read on what Trask was trying to do in terms of throwing the ball, the routes they were running, and then on the offensive side of the ball, they had a running back. I forget his name, but
was it Sherman?
No. It was something else like Williamson.
Stevenson.
That was it.
Stevenson.
And you were loving him. Thinking he's going to play in the pros.
He's going to be a great pro because he's got a big body, he's got quickness, and he can cut better than most anybody. I mean, he reminded me for a big guy, he reminded me of Eric Dickerson quite a bit. And it was like, holy cow. And I don't know how many yards he ended up with, but it was quite a bit. He was close to 200 if he wasn't 200.
Oh, yeah. No, he had a lot. And their quarterback as well impressed me. He looks a little funny, but...
And he's small.
Yeah, smaller guy. And I think he's pretty young, too.
He is. He's a redshirt freshman.
Yep, freshman. Yeah. But he can throw a ball good and scamper away when he needs to.
That's what I was going to say. He's heady, and he's got a high football IQ.
Right? Yep, seemed that way.
Yep. And so
they look good.
He's cocky as shit, but he's going to grow into that. He's going to mature, and he's going to end up being a superstar.
But they look good. They look real good.
They're wide receivers.
And this is a kind of a hindsight's 2020 thing, but looking at how they played in that game, and then what we got in the semifinal game. I think if the playoff committee could go back, they would put Oklahoma in at that number 4 spot for sure.
Absolutely. And it would be interesting to see an Alabama team play Oklahoma and see what might have played out there. Now, frankly, Alabama probably still wins that game, but it might have been much more competitive, and there would have been more threat, right? There would have been more threat.
Mm-hmm. Why would you put them at 4? Why wouldn't you put them at 3?
I would put them at 4 because Ohio State was undefeated and Big Ten
Jesus.
champions.
Come on now. That's just, it's crap.
And Oklahoma had 2 losses.
Oklahoma had 2 losses.
Yeah.
They lost to Kansas State. They lost to Iowa State.
They were still a better team than... you look at how many teams or how many games all those other teams had to play, and Ohio State's coming out of nowhere. We're playing 6 patsies. And then they get to walk into the playoffs like nothing because they
didn't play patsy.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so you're calling Northwestern a patsy?
Yes.
See, Northwestern's not a patsy.
Yes, they are.
Well, Northwestern
Indiana's
won their
not
game.
a patsy.
Their bowl game.
Indiana beat. Exactly.
Auburn.
Northwestern beat Auburn, right?
Yep.
Northwestern.
Yep. Northwestern beat Auburn.
Okay. Northwestern beat. I mean, they beat them badly too. It was sound.
No,
yes, it was a sound victory.
I wouldn't say that.
It was a sound victory.
Yeah, they controlled the game. It was 35-19.
Yeah.
35-19.
Yeah, it's a sound game.
And Ohio State played Penn State, which we would normally consider to be a tough game, but this year Penn State was down, so it wasn't so hard.
Yeah. I think they fought the virus worse than most teams. I mean, they really had a difficult time.
Well, and they had a bunch of guys.
And Wisconsin, the same
out.
way. I mean, they both Penn State and Wisconsin.
And I don't understand that from Wisconsin. It really doesn't.
They
make
really
any
fought
sense.
the virus quite a bit.
Yeah,
they had a difficult time with it. But Ohio State, no way.
No way. No.
If they put Oklahoma,
who the hell did Oklahoma play?
They played the damn championship game. That's it.
So did Ohio State.
Oh.
So we could go on forever with this discussion, but because it's 2 brothers just going at it.
Hey, I like to hear it.
It's just
classic.
Yes.
That's what it is. All right.
We'll take this offline.
Well, and we just mentioned it, but there's that Northwestern Auburn game in the Citrus Bowl, and Northwestern impressed me again there.
They did.
It shouldn't be too surprising because Northwestern was the second best team in the Big Ten this year, and Auburn was kind of middle of the SEC.
Right.
Even though obviously they've got talent.
Right.
Okay, what was the score of the Nebraska Northwestern game?
Oh, it was tight.
Yeah, they lost by less than.
So how can that be? How can they be the second best team?
They were beating Ohio State at halftime of the conference championship game. They beat.
That
beat
didn't mean
Iowa.
anything to me because the damn
Iowa.
thing of it is they haven't played anybody. Holy cow!
They beat a lot of good teams. They were an amazing defensive team and a good.
How is it that
offensive
Nebraska
team.
hung with them then?
Well, Nebraska should have beat them.
Yeah, in fact, yes. That's my point, is that they should have beat them. So how good could they have been if Nebraska could have beaten Northwestern? How good can Northwestern be if Nebraska should have beaten them and could have beaten them?
Because Northwestern has a coach that understands how he can muddy up every game. He can take a team that is more athletic than his team and make them look like shit. Yeah. And he does it because, you know what? He had a great offensive or defensive coordinator who retired this year, by the way, which is probably why if there's ever a time for Pat Fitzgerald to leave, and I know he is considering some NFL options, it would be now because he's losing one of his key assistants.
Yeah, he's coached for like 40 years, right?
Mike Hankwitz. You remember that name? From Colorado. He was the defensive coordinator for Bill McCartney at Colorado when they were winning a national championship and competing with Tom Osborne. Hankwitz was the reason why Northwestern defense was always so frickin' good. Okay? He was brilliant.
It's still, the thing of it is that's, you're not making a case for me for Northwestern being a very good team, and yet they're the end-all be-all because they got beat by Ohio State. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No, I mean they won the Big Ten West, and they made Ohio State earn that Big Ten championship victory.
But it's still,
to me, Auburn.
To me, they beat a team in that championship game that was, just barely beat them. Okay,
but this is slightly better than Nebraska. I get where you're going.
And Oklahoma is like...
Well, you know what the great news is? We're going to get a chance to see that next year because we get to go and play Oklahoma in Norman, and we're going to get our asses kicked.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. See, that's the thing, is that I just think that it was easily capable that Oklahoma would have been the number 3 seed. And would have played Clemson instead of Ohio State. And Ohio State should have been number Alabama. 4. At best, Ohio State should have been number 4. And I don't agree with that at all because I don't even think they should have been there at all.
So you're ignoring what we're going to get to, which is that Ohio State beat Clemson badly.
Yes, they did. But I'm saying that if they would have had to play against Alabama, it might have been a different story.
That's true.
Okay? And also, Oklahoma could have done the same damn thing to Clemson.
Right, we don't know.
We don't know.
See, that's the thing we don't know.
Right.
But, see, Oklahoma didn't get the chance to.
I know.
Because the...
Notre Dame.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the whole thing.
One little diatribe on this, and then we'll move on.
But, all right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No. It's good. It's good.
It's really good radio here.
Yeah, no, I love it. But this is a conversation I know we've had on some of our older episodes where we're talking about the playoff rankings and things like that, which gets into... Are you looking, what's more important, the full resume of the full season and who played the best from the beginning to the end, or who's playing the best football right now at the end of the season? Because I think Oklahoma struggled early on.
They did.
with some of those losses to Iowa State.
They actually looked
Kansas
pretty
State.
shitty, actually, early on.
But clearly here, they've made adjustments. They're more cohesive as a team, and now they probably are one of the best teams in the country in terms of how they're playing right now.
Right.
But they weren't that earlier in the season.
Okay, how many times has a team in the past won a national championship with 2 losses? There's been quite a few.
There have.
There's been quite a few. How many times have they been beat? Twice.
Right? No, I get it.
Okay.
But there's been a few of those teams. There's not been a lot of those teams.
There was a lot earlier in the 70s and 80s.
Well, in the 70s, back when there was no, there was ties. There was a lot of teams that would tie instead of winning. But so that definitely disrupted the whole win-loss record thing. But I would say since the college football playoff era and even before that in the BCS era, there has been way too much emphasis, and I will agree with you on this, AJ. There have been too much emphasis on undefeated. And Ohio State is a beneficiary of the fact that even though they played fewer games, they were undefeated. No one had beaten them, and they were playing in a Power 5 conference. Period. That's a fact.
Right. Well, like one of the
Alabama's 12-0.
I know.
And Ohio State is
8-0.
7 or 8-0.
That's right.
They've got to play 4 less games.
Right.
Holy shit.
Right.
That's huge.
It is.
4 games. They're not getting their asses kicked by
even if they win, they're losing a player each game.
Yeah.
Right? So there are 4 players at Ohio State that are still healthy and available that wouldn't probably have been if they had played 4 more games. Totally agree with you. But that's COVID. That's this year. That's weird. That's this year.
That's Big Ten bullshit is what that is.
Yeah.
Well, and I hope we're talking to all kinds of people from all across the nation on that one because they agree with me.
Well, and I remember in the lead up to that Clemson game, they made a point of saying Ohio State's been undefeated since their loss to Clemson,
right,
and not taking into account that they played less games this season,
right.
But it's like they got to avenge that loss to Clemson because that was their last loss because they were undefeated, right? So really driving home that undefeated narrative,
yes,
because that is what people really care about.
It is
in college football,
and regretfully, it's got too much influence, and it has since the beginning of the college football playoff era.
Well, there's been a lot of very, very good football teams that have won national championships that have gotten beat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. I'm just saying that in the college football playoff era, Ohio State won the very first year of the college football playoff. Mm-hmm. They won it when they were the 4th seed.
Yep.
They barely got in, right? Mm-hmm. And then they ended up winning it. And they did it with a backup quarterback.
Wasn't it the year that Bama slipped in at number 4? Then they won the whole thing too.
Yep, Bama, exactly. There was a year when Bama did that. Yep, exactly. So there's been a couple of times where the best team, the team that was playing the best at the end of the year, sneaks in to the 4th spot, and that's where having an 8-team playoff, which we'll get to in future episodes, is going to be so valuable because then it gets totally away from forget that every conference champion is going to be in no matter what. So in Oklahoma, who stumbles early but then becomes the conference champion, has the opportunity to redeem those early losses, right, by being a part of the playoff. When the playoff is limited to only 4 teams, then the resume thing with those 2 losses is too much. There was a year when Ohio State was outstanding, didn't get in because they had one hiccup. Iowa beat them like a drum. Okay, it was a situation where they had 3 turnovers in the first half of a game, just totally stumbled over themselves. Every other game they were dominant, and yet they didn't get in the playoff because of that one loss. Okay, and so that's the nature of where you're at when you only get 4 to choose from, and that's what's going to drive to 8 or more, 12, whatever it ends up being. Right, 16.
My point was from the beginning. 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, was that Oklahoma could have easily, and nobody would have argued with it, been the 3rd seed,
okay,
and that would have been a different deal.
Yep.
The whole thing would be different.
It's true.
Yep.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that if they were going to get in, they would have gotten in 4. Okay.
All right. There's one more bowl I want to mention before we get into the semifinals, which is the Fiesta Bowl, which was Iowa State versus Oregon. Of course, we were all cheering for Iowa State being, even though they're ranked 10 and Oregon's ranked 25, they still felt like the underdog because...
Oh, they were the underdog. I guarantee in Vegas they probably were.
Probably, because Oregon just got so much darn talent. But Iowa State played it well. Matt Campbell coached a good game, and they ended up winning 34-17, admittedly with Oregon making a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers.
Right.
It was like 5 turnovers, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard for any team to win with that kind of mess going on, but still, good job by Iowa State.
Yeah, well, Iowa State, like Northwestern, is a team that simply executes, and they are solid across the board. And they just get it done. I think Iowa State probably has, probably less than 10 4-star athletes on their entire roster. Over the last 5 years of recruiting, they might have 10 4-star players, right? So they're not getting the blue chippers, but they execute and they play great. And they have a plan.
Yep, they sure do. And then, of course, we've got the semifinal games. We would like to do a podcast before the game so we could give our usual predictions and things, but the schedule just didn't play out that way. So the first game that we watched together was Notre Dame versus Alabama, which, of course, the spread was 19.5 points Bama, which apparently is the highest in the playoff era.
History, yes.
Yeah. But it didn't end up being that lopsided. It was 31-14. Bama victory, but watching the game,
it was that lopsided.
It was that lopsided in terms of how the play was going. Like Notre Dame just couldn't get anything done on offense at all.
So AJ, as a longtime odds guy, this is a semifinal game. There were millions of dollars invested in this game, right? And bet on this game.
Yeah, oh yeah,
right at the Vegas books and stuff, and that last minute and a half cover that happened, backdoor cover.
Yeah.
That pissed off
a lot
so
of
many people.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh God.
I mean, because like you say, completely dominant performance by Alabama, and then Alabama basically puts in some probably second teamers, right? And
he doesn't care.
Right.
He doesn't care if he wins by.
He's won.
He knows the game is over.
Yeah. Right. So and then Notre Dame marches down and scores that last touchdown in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And basically gets them inside of that 19.5 points and screws so many people.
Yeah. It reminds me of a game way long ago in 1978 where Oklahoma and Nebraska played in the regular season, and Nebraska beat Oklahoma in the regular season, and I don't know why, but they ended up both being in the Orange Bowl. It was a weird deal. I don't remember why they did that, but they ended up playing against each other in the Orange Bowl, which is the weirdest thing in the world. Right. Miami must have been just god-awful that year or something. Well, but anyway,
it was
they
before
played,
they were good.
And late in the game, there's a reason why I remember this.
I bet.
Late in the game, Nebraska scored a late garbage touchdown, even though they were getting beat.
Right.
They scored a late garbage touchdown, and I won $50 because it got them within the point spread.
Right.
And that was a deal.
Right.
It's just, they don't care.
No.
The coaches don't care whether they win by 7 or 14 or 22 or whatever.
As a gambler, you always need to know that even if a team is a dominant, if there's a big number, you got to know that in many cases, you better know the personality of that coach. Actually, the Oklahoma example he just gave defeats the history of this. But Barry Switzer is the one guy that if you're a gambler, you could have said, you know what, I trust Barry. If he can crush Nebraska in that bowl game, he's gonna, right? So he'll hang a half 100 on them and make it such a blowout that you won't have to worry about it, right? But most coaches, once they've secured the victory, they're going to run the clock out and be done with it, and let's go, right? Yeah. They're going to put their second teamers in, get some snaps, let them experience a bowl game, all that kind of shit.
And that's what happened with that Notre Dame Alabama score, because Saban could have prevented that, and he could have won by another 2 more touchdowns if he wanted to.
He could have picked the score.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite so sure on the 2 more touchdowns. It is true that they were definitely playing second teamers, probably later in the fourth quarter. But Alabama's offense did sputter at times.
It did.
Notre Dame's defense, had some grit to it, and so I think that the message kind of coming out of this game was that. It was, for as much of a favorite as we knew that Alabama was, it's a little surprising they didn't win by more. They didn't look more dominant. That they didn't put up more points. So I think that puts a slight little seed of doubt into that Bama team,
right,
going into the national championship game.
That's just gonna sucker bet a bunch of people's what that's gonna do.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping.
That is true. I think that's what's gonna happen.
There we go. It's funny that you're talking about betting so much in odds, because AJ and I over here got the bright idea after seeing that the Clemson.
Since we're in Nevada.
Yeah, the Clemson-Ohio State spread was -7 Clemson. We thought, oh, well, Clemson's going to beat them by more than that. You know, they look so good in that ACC championship game. So we went down and put down some bets on Clemson winning the game by more than 7 and came back. And early on, it was looking pretty good. Clemson got like 14 points pretty quick. You know, Trevor Lawrence throwing nice passes. But Ohio State scored right back. It was 14-all. It looked like it was going to kind of be a score fest going back and forth.
It did.
And then Clemson just 3-and-outed, like I swear, like 3 times in a row. And their defense was just starting to get tired, and Justin Fields was playing the game of his life.
Yeah, even after getting his kidneys taken off.
Yeah, unlike that Northwestern game, he really threw some accurate balls. Yeah, and even after he got injured real bad in the side, and the kid on Clemson's staff, or Clemson's team rather, who hit him there got ejected for targeting, which I think was dumb. You know, he played through the pain, and unlike Alabama, they didn't sub him out later in the game. They kept him in every play up until the very end of the fourth quarter, even though his kidneys were bleeding.
That's okay.
So, yeah, but to the surprise of many people, because I certainly, if we had done a prediction before those semifinals, I would have predicted that Clemson was going to win, clearly because I bet on them. But Ohio State ended up winning that game 49-28 in a dominant fashion.
Dominant fashion because of 2 things. The offensive and defensive lines of Ohio State.
Yes.
That was the difference in that game.
And a young offensive line, too.
Yes.
So, yeah, that proved to be very effective because, yeah, aside from that one hit we mentioned, Justin didn't really get pressured too much. No. They did a good job protecting him.
They did. I agree.
And, of course, Sermon, who had a great game against Northwestern,
had another great game.
Just ran it all over Clemson. Not to the same extent as Northwestern, but still had a
And what's interesting is that the reason that Sermon's stats weren't bigger earlier in the year is because he wasn't the starter. Mm-hmm. You know, that Teague the third was the starter for Ohio State most of the year, got hurt, and Sermon became the starter because of Teague's injury. So, yeah, Master Teague is his name. Master is his first name.
Yeah, funny that. Yeah, and Sermon being a senior as well as Justin Fields, so they're probably going to lose both of them after this year is over.
Fields is a junior, but he's going to go pro.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so the interesting thing going into this now national championship game that we're describing of Alabama versus Ohio State is what kind of Justin Fields are we going to have? I mean, I'm sorry. I watched that hit. I was worried for the guy's life after that.
You're like, bring him to the hospital.
That guy needs to go to the hospital and make sure he's not bleeding to death, okay? Because and there's some origin for this. There was a assistant coach that I had in high school who when I was practicing, he played and we needed a running back. And so one of the coaches, Tom Ketchkow was his name, and Coach K said, "I'll be the running back." And then somebody went off and hit him full speed while the coach didn't have any pads on, and ended up destroying one of his kidneys.
Oh, geez.
And we ended up having to literally take him to the hospital. And so every time I see somebody get hit like that, I think about that, and I think about, hey, don't mess with that, because Tom said, "Oh, I'm fine," and kept going through practice. And then about 15 minutes before the end of practice, he collapses, and the next thing we know, we're getting him to an ambulance and getting him to the hospital.
Right.
So you don't mess around with kidneys.
Yeah,
that's the message of that.
That's the thing. Yeah, Ohio State looked really
good,
good in general, on offense in particular. But with Justin Fields hurt, and they had a couple more players, just get dinged up over the course of the game, which is normal. Although I definitely felt like they had more injuries than Alabama did.
Right.
So the question is, can they stack up to Alabama, who's been in this situation, so many dozens of times now, being in the national championship game, right? Whereas this is Ohio State's first time back since 2014 when they won it in the first playoff
And they beat Alabama in the semifinal of that year. So,
yes, they did.
Yeah. So last time those two teams played, I think Ohio State won.
Right. They did. So, looking ahead to that game, what are you thinking on a score, Dad, if you had to put a score on that?
I think Alabama wins.
Game?
I think Alabama wins, and I'm going to say it's got to be 14 points difference. So I'm going to say what would 38 minus 14 would be 38-24?
38-24.
38-24.
Okay, that's fair. What do you think, AJ? What do you think of the national championship score?
Oh, God. I'm thinking the score will be 42-34. What I want it to be is 88-0.
42-34 will be his.
So you want Alabama to just crush?
Yes. Yeah.
Crush
I don't think Ohio State deserves to be there.
Right.
I just do not think that they deserve to even be there.
And I
don't care how good they are. I don't think they deserve to be there because they didn't play a full schedule like everybody else did.
Right. Yes, and I do see your argument. We talked about that while the game was going on after it was clear that Ohio State was going to win was, the advantage that they have of not getting beat up in a couple more games.
Yeah. Four more games.
Well, they missed
like half
3.
a season.
No, 4.
Well,
but the difference between them and Alabama is going to be 4, though.
Well, right.
Because Alabama played a full schedule.
Sure, but if Ohio State played 3 games, was only down by 1 compared to Alabama, people would
no big deal.
Yeah, nobody would care about that.
No,
but
still, it is 4 games.
Right. And the thing is, the Big Ten had the opportunity to have Ohio State play another game in that final week.
Right, when Michigan...
And instead of going in that direction, they chose to accept and change the rules to accept Ohio State as the Big Ten East champion, even though they had not met the minimum, right? They could have said, hey, you know what? Indiana, why don't you play Ohio State again? Okay? That would have given Ohio State the opportunity to replay Indiana and avenge their one game. It would have given Indiana the opportunity to avenge their one loss, right? And it would have given Ohio State the opportunity to prove very definitively that they were
deserve
the best
to
team.
be there.
And they would have had to play another game, which probably would have led to, again, my ratio of approximately 1 player per game that gets diminished, if not completely eliminated from performance the rest of the season. Okay, and that to me would have made more sense. But instead, they gave the white flag, checkered flag to Ohio State and let them do that. And the reason, in my opinion, why they did that is because if they had done the other thing, it would have been a complete reversal of the Nebraska decision. So Nebraska's pursuit of playing a game, in a week when they couldn't get a game because Wisconsin had COVID, caused the Big Ten to not go in that direction and instead just change the rules. Okay? And I think that was the wrong decision.
Right.
And that's, I think, one of the hang-ups that AJ's got.
And this would have been harder to figure out, but if they wanted to prove it even more definitively, you'll recall that Texas A&M also had their game canceled due to COVID.
They could have had Texas A&M play Ohio State, which would have been a great game to see.
Yes, that would have been both of those. Yes, it would have been a great game.
Right, and then there would have been less complaint about it.
Oh my God! If Ohio State had played A&M and beaten them, then guess what? There's no discussion about Texas A&M.
None at all.
Right.
That's over.
Yep.
Yeah. Because it takes Texas A&M out in it.
That's right.
Or Ohio State out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very true.
And then Oklahoma is the 4th team.
All right. And I'm going to go ahead and predict a little bit closer. I'm going to say it's going to be 38 Alabama, 31 Ohio State. I think that Alabama's talent is, just too darn good. And, Nick Saban is prepping and getting his boys ready for that national championship game. You have a great game plan going in. Ohio State really impressed me and surprised me with how well they played. But with an injured Justin Fields, I don't think they'll be able to pull it out, even if they make it make it close.
So that's that's going to be my exception here to this whole discussion that we've had. Is I'm presuming, and so are you, that Justin Fields is going to be diminished because of whatever happened in the.
I bet you he'll come out and be playing fine at the beginning, but
right.
He takes one big hit. Sore. He takes one big hit, and you'll see him clutching his side.
And
again.
Alabama is absolutely zoning in to do that. They are going to be aggressive and attacking because even if they don't get to him, just the fact that they're close is going to scare the shit out of him.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, I just think that Ohio State's inexperience in this environment, plus the fact that Justin Fields is probably going to be less than 100% no matter what. I don't give a damn what magical, Eastern acupuncture they give this guy. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a problem. And without Justin Fields playing the way he did last week, in this last game, they don't have a chance. Because the Teague running game isn't going to be there.
You mean Sermon?
Sermon, excuse me. The Sermon running game is not going to be there. If he had both Justin Fields and Sermon, then Ohio State might actually have a chance. Because the thing is, Alabama has a weakness. They're secondary.
Yep, we saw that.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if that could get exposed, but I don't think Fields can do that.
Right. Yep. Doesn't seem to be that way. So we'll of course look forward to that national championship game coming up here in about a week or so. And that'll be, the end of college football, which is always a sad time, but hopefully we get a good game out of it. I'd like nothing more to be wrong in my prediction to see Alabama lose, because we don't want to see them win another one.
AJ wants them to see.
Well, okay. AJ does. And he was cheering for them against Notre Dame, too.
True.
So he was overjoyed. But, yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, we'll do a podcast after that national championship game to discuss it.
Yes.
So we hope you all out there enjoyed listening to this podcast. You can go in and reach us online if you search for College Football Throwdown on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Leave us a rating or review there and let us know what you think of the podcast. Or you can reach out to us at huskerpete13@gmail.com. Read your comment out on the air. So thank you all out there for listening, and thank you, Dad and AJ, for joining me once again here in person. It's always fun to talk to you guys about all the football we've been watching this holiday break. And until next time, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
Go Bama.
Oh, no.